Well, initially it was to our new business intake process. Law firms are probably a little unique from other types of businesses where any new client has to be looked at in context of the work we're doing for other clients. That's what we call potential conflicts of interest, and we want to avoid those. So our new client intake process is fairly complex, involves a lot of steps, a lot of review, and all that has to be done fairly quickly. And eWork really allowed us to do that consistently, quickly, around the clock on a global basis. We simply could not have achieved that with fax machines and email and phone calls, which is how we were doing it before. It's really allowed us to handle a much larger volume of business and continued growth across the firm. Right now we're looking at a personnel provisioning system that we've just deployed in two of our largest offices, and we'll be expanding that rapidly to all of our other locations. And that's really looking at the intake of new personnel, the provisioning, getting them the technology that they need, setting up their accounts, setting up their offices, getting business cards, whatever that may be, because we service a group of fairly high-level professionals, our attorneys. They need to be up and operating the moment they walk in the door with no glitches. eWork is going to allow us to do that much more seamlessly. What we've done with the BlackBerry, I think, is fairly innovative, and I wish I could take credit for it, but we have some great developers who put it together. Really, what we looked around at this process and how it's implemented in the firm and who's involved, and it turns out that our attorneys have considerable amount of direct involvement in responding to inquiries as part of a new client intake process. And they live on their BlackBerries when they're not in their office. Attorneys tend to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when demand is there. And we wanted them to be able to participate without slowing down the process or inconveniencing them by having them able to respond to those inquiries and to provide input directly into the new client intake process from their BlackBerry. And we built a connection back into eWork. We can set a flag in our process, say that this has been sent off to an attorney for their input. As soon as they respond, we package that up on the BlackBerry, send it back as an email, collect that email, shut down the flag, and move the process on. And the result is an attorney can be responsive wherever they are and at whatever time without having to log into our network and respond. Response times are dramatically faster, and we think it's been fairly well received by the attorneys as well. Okay. The BlackBerry solution has allowed us to enhance client responsiveness. That was our primary goal. This is a very time-sensitive process. We have to get an answer back to our clients as to whether we can take on a particular matter for them. And the attorney's response and input into this process is essential. And so by providing this solution to them and tying it back into the core process, we achieve what really one of our primary goals for this was, and that was to reduce our time to response, to be able to get back to our clients and say, yes, we can do this for you. Well, we measure our success really in less on the monetary side, although I think we have achieved efficiencies there. But again, our real goal was to look at how rapidly are we able to get back to our clients and provide an answer to them. And that's really what our new client intake process is all about. Once we can define that we don't have any conflicts of interest, that this makes sense in terms of the other cases that we're handling, then we've really achieved what we were after in this process. The rest of it's fairly routine, administrative, opening the accounting codes that are required. But that critical point in the process is the yes or no, we can do this. And we actually measure that actively and report on that monthly to our senior management.
Okay.
We feel that our implementation of BEPM has really been somewhat internally focused, and not so much that we're gaining competitive advantage as we are maximizing our own capabilities internally. We don't necessarily compare ourselves to other law firms for that type of a process. What we really do is compare ourselves to ourselves, and are we doing it better, smarter, faster, with fewer resources, or at least using our resources to best effect. And so it's really an inward focused as opposed to a comparative type of analysis that we do. There are just so many differences among law firms in terms of practice and how they handle this aspect of their business that it's tough to compare. And obviously law firms are selected based on the quality of their lawyers and not necessarily on the nature of their internal processes and efficiencies.
Okay.
For those considering BPM, I would strongly recommend that they don't hesitate. Start doing the research, looking at the products, looking at potential applications within your firm or your company. There isn't going to be a perfect time to do it. There's not going to be a perfect solution. You're not going to have all of the answers laid out neatly up front. It's evolutionary. To some extent, you have to have a good sense of the business and sort of make a self-assessment of do I see opportunities, and am I willing to take a moderate risk in terms of my investment based on what I see. We sometimes call ROI rely on instinct as opposed to return on investment, and that works out fairly well for us in terms of this. We have not been disappointed at all with our results.